hope that the next hour together that we'll spend is a time that you can just like take a rest and take a break and just take an hour-long pause for yourself before whatever you have to do this week. I know for me today, well, tomorrow is the beginning of 2 weeks of taking a break from work. And so I'm able to kind of go into myself and just relax and refresh and get ready for whatever's next. So as you find yourself seated on your mat, we'll move into our first pose in just a moment, which will be Malasana squat. But before we get there, I want us just to ground ourselves here in this moment, in this time, and in our bodies. So whatever position you're sitting in, no need to adjust anything. Just take a moment and roll your shoulders up and back 3 times. Noticing what it feels like to open your chest and broaden your chest in this way. Noticing what it feels like across your back. And just noticing anything else that comes up. And once you've done that 3 times, do it in the opposite way. So rolling your shoulders back and then forward. And maybe noticing if one of those feels easier for your body than the other. And once you've done that 3 times, we'll just take 3 breaths, tilting our head or our ear to each shoulder, just to notice what our neck feels like tonight, to maybe begin to notice anything that's kind of stuck between our heads and our hearts. And then we'll dive into some poses and get some relaxation. So on your next inhale, just go ahead and tilt your right ear towards your right shoulder. And you can put your arms wherever you'd like. If you'd like to feel this stretch a little more deeply, you might want to take your left arm out a little bit to the side and maybe point your fingers, lifting them off the ground, feeling that stretch all the way down the left side of your head, your neck, your arm. Take 2 breaths here. Just noticing, not changing anything at this point. And then after your 3rd exhale, just drop your chin to your chest and just look down, feeling the back side of your head, the back side of your neck, and just noticing if you feel anything in your shoulders as you do this. And then continue tracing over with your left ear towards your left shoulder. And again, you might want to stretch your right arm out, either straight out to the side or just kind of down in maybe a little triangle, pyramid-like shape. And just notice how your neck and your shoulder feel. Take 2 breaths here. And then after you've done that, just bring your head back to neutral and just look up towards the ceiling. And if you want and feel comfortable, go ahead and close your eyes and take 5 breaths with your throat kind of just open towards the front, your eyes either open or closed, looking towards the ceiling, and noticing if you can feel your breath in a different way. Tonight's class is a restorative class, but some of the things that kind of inspired me were thinking about the solstice, thinking about the way that 2 planets are coming together to form a star in the sky. And then a podcast I recently listened to by Brene Brown, where she talks about this 3-part idea of how she approaches things in 2020 and life in general. And the 3 parts she mentions are not hers originally, and I don't recall exactly whose they were, but they were that we have to have a strong back, a soft front, and a wild heart if we truly are wanting to live our lives wholeheartedly. And so tonight during class, I want us to just reflect on what that means. What does it mean to have a strong back, a soft front, and a wild heart? And so as we're in each of the poses we'll be in, just notice our back, our front, and our heart. And just reflect on that notion that it takes more than just one thing to make it through 2020. But tonight you've taken this time for yourself to be here and breathe and spend time with your body. So once you've finished looking up at the ceiling, go ahead and return back to kind of a neutral position, seated. And we're going to move into our first pose, which will be a malasana squat. And so what I want you to do is from your seat, go ahead and just stand up for just a moment. This will be our only time that we stand together, and I apologize that you can't see the top of me, but we will not be standing very long. But just go ahead and stand and feel both of your feet on the surface that you're standing on. And go ahead and move them a little bit wider than shoulder width distance because we will be coming into a squat. But before we do that, we're going to do a volcano breath, which if you've done a class with me before, you've done. So go ahead and I'm going to squat a little bit so you can see me, but go ahead and bring your hands to your heart center and think about something from this year that you hope doesn't follow you into the new year, whatever that means for you. And think about something that you want to intentionally leave in this year. And so once you've got that thing, go ahead and begin to press your hands, palms together, and lift your palms above your head to where they're pointed up towards the ceiling. And then as you exhale, just allow your hands to open up wide and trace down to the sides of your body. And then bring your hands back into heart center, palms together. And think now about something that you are looking forward to for 2021. Whatever that means for you, whether that be hopefully getting to see certain people in person again, or a change that you've been able to make out of being forced to make some changes, or whatever it is, just think of something you're excited for. And just close your eyes and pause for just a moment. And then keeping your hands at heart center, as you exhale, just begin to slowly squat all the way down. And if you need to come up onto your toes, go ahead and do that. But just go ahead and squat so that your elbows eventually can come between your knees and you're in this malasana squat position. And if you'd like to put a prop underneath your seat, such as a bolster or a blanket, go ahead and do that. But we're going to stay in this malasana squat for 3 minutes. And for those 3 minutes, I want you to make sure that you're in a position that feels comfortable for your knees and safe enough for your body to be in this position if you would like to close your eyes. And I want you to just spend the next 3 minutes really thinking about what you are looking forward to. And in that, I encourage you to consider not just looking forward to 2020 being over, but looking forward to something that you're excited for. Maybe it's something you're building for yourself or in your career, or it's something that you've just been anticipating that you know is just on the other side of the horizon. Tonight, with the solstice, is the longest night of the year, and so the days only get brighter from here. And as we move into this new season, I hope that you are able to take the lessons that 2020 has taught us, either by force or by choice, into whatever 2021 brings. None of us could have predicted the way that this year has gone, and none of us can predict the way the next year will go, but we can control our breath as we handle whatever it brings us. So just take a couple minutes here to yourself, just breathing, maybe imagining your breath going in your nose and all the way down your spine to your seat or whatever you're sitting on. And then exhaling, maybe sighing a few times to just let anything go that you'd like to let go. And coming back to that notion of what does it mean to have a strong back, a soft front, and a wild heart? Here in this malasana squat, we can feel our back, maybe our lower back more than anything, but we also have our hands kind of at our heart center on our front side. And so we're feeling really all the sides of our body all at once while we're kind of dangling in the air in this moment. And another sentiment of Brene Brown that I appreciate and often struggle with, but that's because it's so true, is that the only way out is to go through things. We can't numb only the positive emotions or only the negative emotions. So we have to feel our way through whatever that looks like to make it to the other side. So as you take these breaths, remember that the inhale is just as essential as the exhale to making it through. And it takes one to have the other. And take 3 more breaths. And after your third breath, we're going to just move back into that seated pose that we were in before this. And so however you'd like to get there, if you'd like to just place your hands down and then lean back a little bit so that you can sit on your seat, that works. Or if you'd like to stand back up and then sit back down, that also works. Just find yourself in a seat and take a few breaths. And then most of the rest of our poses will be dual-sided poses. And so we'll attend to each side of our body for the purpose of noticing how similar and how different we are. And I thought that felt appropriate for the solstice tonight. And so the first pose we're going to move into is called deer pose. And so what we'll do from our seat that we're in, just go ahead and we'll start with our right leg forward. So just leave your right leg in front of you if you were in a cross-legged position, and kind of unwind your left leg so that it can go behind you, where your shin is perpendicular to the back of your mat with your foot behind you, and your right leg in front is in similar to a pigeon position for your leg. And you'll notice that you'll feel this stretch along the front of your left thigh. And so your left leg is back behind you at kind of a 90-ish degree angle in some way. And then your front leg is also at a 90-degree angle. And so with your right shin, was parallel to the front of your mat, and your left shin along the back side of your left side of your mat, just kind of sit up tall as we would in the beginning of a pigeon pose. And then you have a couple options with this. You can either walk your hands forward in front of you, kind of draping over that right leg, maybe to the side over the right knee. Or if you'd like to place your hands behind you and maybe a prop, if you'd like to lay all the way back and that works for your body, you can do that. Either way, you'll notice that the stretch will feel differently along the left side of your leg and kind of up that psoas muscle into your core, whether you're going forward or backwards. But just find a position with deer that you can be in for a few minutes and just notice how this feels on the opposite sides of your body. And if you aren't feeling a stretch, you might want to move your front leg forward or your back leg back a little bit. But just find a position that maybe is similar to pigeon and maybe stretches in different ways, and just be here. And we're about halfway through this side. So if you would like to try going forwards if you went backwards or vice versa, feel free to. But if you are enjoying what you're feeling in your body, just stay there. All of these poses you can do on your own at any time you want, anywhere you have a flat surface, and they will all help you relax, release, and just rest. And take 3 more deep breaths here on this side. And after that third breath, whether you were forwards or backwards, just come back up to the center. And together we'll move into the other side. And so to move to the other side, carefully, maybe lean a little bit to the right side of your mat and lift up that left leg and bring it around in front of you into butterfly legs for just a moment to allow our hips to kind of neutralize a little bit and notice how they feel similar and different from each other. Maybe you want to fly your butterfly wings just a little bit for fun, to just feel that energy moving around in your body. And then this time our left leg will be in the front. And so lifting up your right leg and swinging it around behind you so that your knee is at the edge of your mat and your shin is along the side of your mat. And then this time your left leg is out in front of you at a 90-ish degree angle. And notice what feels different on each side. I notice that I need to bring in my right leg a little bit and can't stretch it as far back just because that hip isn't doing that today. And so remember that while we might look the same on both sides, we aren't. And so from here, kind of look up towards the ceiling for just a moment to allow your breath to feel its way down your whole spine. And then decide if you would like to walk your hands forward or backwards, first on this side or in general. And just settle yourself in to deer pose on this side. Noticing your hips, noticing your inner thigh, and noticing that inner groin muscle that goes up into our psoas. And just see if on an exhale you can allow yourself to just soften a little bit more somewhere. That might be your hips and it might be somewhere else. Only you know what's going on in your body right now. And if you'd like to go forward if you went backwards, or backwards if you went forwards, now would be the time to split that in half or stay where you are and do what you need. And take 3 more breaths on this side. And then just as slowly as we did on the first side, come back to that butterfly shape with both knees out to the side and our soles of our feet touching. And from here, we'll just do a couple cat-cow like shapes just to kind of notice our spine after those first few poses. So grab onto your ankles with your hands and just with your spine, as you inhale, just bring your chest forward and maybe look up towards the ceiling. And as you exhale, lean back a little bit and allow your spine to round. And do that 3 times on your own. Inhaling, looking up with your chest forward. Exhaling, curving your spine. And then we're going to come down onto our backs for our next pose, which will be a twist. And so go ahead and just lie yourself down on your back with your knees up towards the ceiling. And then just bring your knees into your chest, grabbing onto them, and just rocking side to side for a minute, noticing what the length of your spine feels like lying down. And then we're going to come into a supine twist, and we're going to drop our knees to the left side first. And so there's a couple options here. You can either have your knees in towards your chest and just go ahead and drop them over to that side, kind of curved in so that you feel the stretch along the back side of your body in one way. Or if you'd like to have your feet planted on the ground and drop your knees to the left so that you feel kind of more of a side stretch, that's an option as well. But wherever you are, whether your feet are planted on the ground or your knees are in your chest, go ahead and drop both knees over to the left side of your mat. And in the yin practice, we focus on trying to get more of a stretch out of this pose and kind of adjusting ourselves so we feel the stretch down the entire side of our body. But for restorative, I want you to just feel like you are just twisted and wringing out any of the stress of this year, any of the things that you'd like to leave behind. Just imagine that you're kind of getting out that last little bit of things that you don't need to hold on to so that you can go into 2021 feeling much lighter. And so you might want to put your right arm out to the side, put your left hand on your left knee, your right knee. Just be here and close your eyes. And as you exhale, see if you can just sink a little bit more into the ground underneath you. And if you'd like to stretch out your neck a little bit in this pose, like we did in the beginning, if you notice some tension there, feel free to look to one side or the other if that allows you to help that tension release. And take 3 more breaths on this side. allowing the exhale to let you release a little bit more. And after the third one, carefully and slowly lift your knees back up towards the center, bringing your hands back in and placing them on your belly for 2 breaths, just inhaling and allowing your belly to rise, and exhale, feeling it fall. And then we'll just move right into the other side. So maybe you want to bring your knees into your chest and allow them to fall to the right, or maybe you like having them planted on the ground and allowing them to fall to the right. Whichever you feel the most relaxed in, or you get the most of what your body needs, do that. And then again, you can place your right hand on your left knee and stretch out your left arm, or maybe lift it above your head. Whatever feels best for you tonight, just do that. And on this side, I would encourage you to notice what the back side of your body feels like as you do this. So noticing what the side of our body that shields us from many things and protects us from other things feels like as we're in this twisted position. How can we allow twisting to renew us so that we can feel strong, and soften us so that we can feel open? And on these last 3 breaths on this side, where can you exhale a little bit more deeply to sink more into this twist? And on your next inhale, go ahead and bring your knees back to the center, up towards the ceiling, carefully unwinding, being mindful of your back and the stretch that you might have felt along it. And then just with your knees up towards the ceiling with your feet planted, just windshield wiper to each side for a little bit, allowing your lower back to release, noticing what it feels like on each side. And the next pose that we're going to move into is crescent moon. And so go ahead and stretch your feet out in front of you and your arms above your head And just for a moment, see if you can stretch, imagining yourself maybe as a lightsaber, all energy all the way from your fingertips to your toes and back up and forth, all the way up and down your entire center line of your body. Just stretch as much as you can out each side. And then exhale and sigh and relax. And from here, we're going to move into crescent side A. And so what you'll do is lift up your left leg, move it to the left side of your mat, lift your right leg up, and move it next to it. And then the same thing with your arms. Kind of move your left arm to the left side of your mat and your right arm next to it. And you might want to shift your hips a little bit to the right to get more of this shape. But from here, go ahead and just grab one wrist with the other hand. And then if you'd like to try crossing one ankle over the other ankle, go ahead and do that. It doesn't matter which one you do. Either one will just get you a different sensation. But the focus here is on just breathing and relaxing and noticing the entire length of your side body. So if you don't want to cross your ankles or grab your wrists, or if you'd like to just lay here, it's up to you. But just notice as you breathe in, how does it feel to have this incredibly open front of your body? Just completely open and vulnerable up to the ceiling and along the side of your body, just noticing what it feels like. Your breath traces its way all the way down your right side, past your hip, your knee, into your foot. And then maybe as you exhale, it exhales all the way up to your right fingertips. And just tracing that side of the body with your breath. Noticing what it feels like to stretch out your lungs this way, but also just to relax and be here. And if you've lost track of your breath, maybe you want to return to imagining the idea that there's a balloon in your stomach that is your favorite color, or whatever color comes to your mind first. And as you inhale, it expands. And as you exhale, it slowly allows the air out. Inhaling to be a full balloon and exhaling back to its original shape without losing control and flying away. And if you like to switch which ankle is on top of the other one, go ahead and do that, or switch which hand holds which wrist. Go ahead and do that. And on your next inhale, if you have your ankles crossed, uncross them. If you're holding a wrist, so let go. And just bring everything slowly back to the center line. So lifting up your right foot, bringing it to the center, followed by your left foot, your right arm, followed by your left arm. And for just a breath, stretch out from toes to fingertips again. Maybe inhaling and seeing if you can stretch out, and then exhale, just sigh it out and lie on your back for just a moment before moving to the other side. So lifting up your right foot, moving it to the right side of your mat, followed by your left foot. And then your right arm, followed by your left arm. Maybe grabbing a wrist with a hand, putting an ankle over the other ankle. And just being here on this side. And on this side, similar to what we did in our twists, just notice what the back side of your body feels like. What does it feel like to be open on the front and also stretching on the back simultaneously? We need each side for the other side to function at its best. So we have to be mindful of both in everything that we do. If we become too strong on our back, we might lose our softness. Or if we become too soft, we might allow our back to weaken and be more vulnerable than it needs to be. And so as you breathe in, just imagine breathing into your heart a sense of warmth, a sense of joy, and a sense of feeling connected in whatever way that makes you the most happy, whether that be physically connected to a person, emotionally connected in a way that you feel understood and seen, even if it's through a screen, or just feeling connected to yourself in a way that maybe 2020 taught you how to because you had no other way to be. But just be on this side, noticing your back and breathing. And on your next inhale, just come back to the center, uncrossing your feet, lifting your hands back up above your head. And then just bring your knees into your chest and grab onto them and just roll side to side. And then do a couple rolls forward and backwards to the point that you roll yourself up to a seat. And then move on to all fours into a tabletop position. And we'll repeat that cat-cow motion for just a moment. So inhaling, looking up, lifting our tail, and exhaling, curving our spine. And do that 2 more times on your own. And then we're just going to briefly move into a downward dog to get ourselves into pigeon pose, which will be one of our final poses. And so move your hands out a little bit in front of you. And then go ahead and lift your knees and send your hips up towards the sky. And notice what it feels like to be upside down for just a moment in this inversion. Maybe you want to walk out your dog, bending one knee and then the other. Maybe you want to just drop your head and shake it a little bit to let anything fall out of your top of your head from your neck. And from here, go ahead and keep your left foot down and lift your right leg up into three-legged dog. And if you'd like to open it into scorpion, go ahead and do that. I know that feels really great on my hips sometimes before pigeon. And then just bring your knee in towards your nose and plant your knee close to your right wrist and your left ankle towards the left wrist. And drop the back leg, inching it back with your toe tucked under in space so you feel at a comfortable place. And then just grab any props that you like to have for pigeon pose, whether that be a block underneath your right hip or a rolled up blanket. And then for this pose, if you'd like it to be as restorative as possible and you have a bolster, go ahead and bring that out in front of you and maybe prop it up with some blocks underneath it so that it can get really close to you. And then just walk your hands slowly out in front of you, or if you have that bolster in front of you, just wrap your arms around that, similar to how we might in a child's pose. And just fully allow yourself to rest and relax over what's in front of you. And if pigeon pose is not something that you are a fan of tonight and you'd like something more relaxing, you can move back to lying on your back and move into a figure 4 position. So from there on your back, if you'd like that option, you would just lie down, lift up your right leg and cross your ankle over your opposite knee. And you could stay here with your foot planted or lift up and bring your hands through and grab onto the back of that left thigh. Either way, just allow yourself to fully relax and drape over and feel the support of either the ground behind you or the prop in front of you. And returning to that sensation that you felt at the beginning of class in that deer pose in your hips, but maybe in a different or similar way now. And while we're here in this pigeon pose, I want to share the meditation from my daily kind of animal card of the day. And today's animal card was the card of the character of a phoenix. And the phoenix represents the transformation of our past. It doesn't mean running away from it, denying it, or burning bridges with rage. The phoenix employs an advanced technique described in yoga as the burning of impurities through the practice and dedication. The essence of the phoenix is with us when we realize that we've been suffering too long and that something must change. We take a stand and decide to live consciously instead of being driven by the unconscious mind and its long list of fears and aversions. At that very moment, the spark of the phoenix is lit. The great bird helps us burn through our baggage. We no longer run from who we are, what has happened to us, or what we've done. The stuckness and dead weight simply fall into the ashes and a lightness and clarity can emerge. As the stagnancy continues to smolder, the phoenix lifts our spirits up, and we begin to recognize ourselves again. We may catch a glimmer in our eye that wasn't there before. Look closely. It's a sign that the fire of transformation is upon your wings. And so pigeon pose for me has been a pose that's both restorative and also incredibly transformative. Because sometimes when we find the places in our body that we need to release, it releases far more than simply muscle tension. So whether you came here tonight simply looking for a release in a restorative class, or you wanted something a little bit deeper, I hope that that sits well with you on this solstice evening as we head into the final week of 2020. And so take another 2 deep breaths. And after that, plant your hands back in front of you, walk them back in towards your body, slowly inching your way back up. And then tucking your back toe, lifting that up a little bit, and lifting your right knee up, coming back to that 3-legged dog, planting it back down in downward dog, maybe wiggling side to side for a moment. And then we'll move right into the other side. So lifting our left leg up, maybe opening our hip a little bit to the side into scorpion, and then bending our knee and bringing it towards our nose, and ultimately to our left wrist, with our ankle moving towards our right wrist, lowering down our back leg, inching it back in space, and keeping the back toe tucked if that feels most comfortable for your knee or your hip, or untucking it, and allowing yourself to readjust the props that are in front of you. If you liked having that, adjust anything underneath your left hip, and just begin to do what your body needs on this side. After this pose, we have one more pose and then Shavasana. But if you have a prop in front of you and you'd like to just fold down over it or wrap your arms around it, go ahead and do that. But just let yourself sink in to this final single-sided hip stretch and release. And just let yourself be held by whatever is underneath you. And if you'd like to do figure 4 on this side and you're being held, notice how your back is on the ground. And just return to your breath, inhaling deeply and exhaling slowly. Both parts of your breath are just as important to the practice of bringing calm to yourself and your nervous system. And take 3 more breaths on this side. And on your third breath, just replant your hands and walk yourself back up off of your prop. And from here, we're just going to move into a child's pose. So we don't need to come back to downward dog. Just go ahead and plant your knees back under yourself, maybe coming to tabletop for just a moment. And then we're going to shift into a wide-legged child's pose. And if you'd like to have that bolster in front of you to drape yourself over, leave that there and adjust it as you need to. And just drape your body down over that bolster, or not if you don't want that, into this wide-legged child's pose position. And just fully allow yourself to just be held and release into this position. And if you'd like to have one ear on the prop or the ground, I'll tell us when we're halfway through so you can switch that. Or if you'd like to have your forehead on the ground or the prop, go ahead and do that. Just make sure that you're able to breathe well enough in that pose. And wherever you are, whether you're in a wide-legged child's pose or in a different pose of your choice, begin to think about if you'd like to stay where you are for Shavasana, or if you'd like to move into lying on your back. And if you'd like to move into lying on your back for Shavasana, go ahead and take 2 breaths and then inch yourself up, walking your hands in towards your body. And just lie yourself back, fully on your back, with your legs out in front of you, and your arms at your sides. And just let everything go with a couple inhales and exhales as a sigh. And just be here. Maybe you want to put a blanket over yourself. Maybe you have an eye pillow you like to put over your eyes. But just be in your choice of Shavasana, whether you'd like to stay in child's pose face down or move into corpse pose face up. Just get into a position that feels like your final pose for tonight's class and just be there. Nothing to focus on, nothing to pay attention to. Just be with yourself for the next 5 minutes. And wherever you are, how can you use your exhale to sink a little bit more into whatever is underneath you, whether that be your knees, under your chest, or the ground under your back? And with your next 3 breaths from wherever you are, go ahead and take the steps that you need to take to get yourself up to a seated position. So if you're in child's pose, walking your hands back in towards your body, coming back up, and bringing your feet into a cross-legged position, or maybe sitting on your heels. Or if you're lying on your back, maybe rolling over to one side and slowly pressing into the ground and coming up to a seat. And we'll just end this time together with a couple breaths together, coming back to what we thought about at the beginning of what we are looking forward to and what we're leaving behind. So once you find yourself in a seat, go ahead and bring your hands to heart center and bow your head, kind of looking at the ground in front of you, maybe closing your eyes if that's comfortable for you. And just thinking back to whatever it was you thought of at the beginning, of something that you're leaving behind or wanting to leave behind, and something you're looking forward to. And just remember that both of these things are equally as important, and that through all of them, you have the ability to breathe through them You made it all the way through everything that this year was, and you'll make it through everything that next year is, even stronger. So take an inhale breath, kind of thinking, breathing all that in. And then with an exhale, just open your hands up and place them on your knees, either palm up or palm down. And just feel into anticipation for whatever is to come. And thank yourself for taking this time during this week that might be busy for you to just rest and be here. And thanks for joining me. And I hope that you have a great rest of your year and that I will see you again in the next year. Thank you.